I set out to collect said evidence. I looked through previous emails, pictures, and anything else I could find that would have indicated she had been unfaithful to me before I knew. It was not simple. She was living with me now, but I didn't have access to her phone. She couldn't just give it to me, she guarded it like a dog guarding its bone. Just like Usain, she would have erased everything instantly. I had to convince her that I was still deeply in love with her first and foremost. I did everything for her. I purchased her gifts, let her hang out with her pals, gave her massages when the broad asked for them. I went her to a pub after that, knowing she wouldn't suspect anything from my forcing her to become wasted. Jenny and I share a common love of alcohol, so all I have to do is pay for anything she wants and watch her do her thing. When we returned home after all that drinking, which I didn't do much of, I offered her more wine. After drinking it as well, she slept out on the couch. Now was the moment to take action. I stole her phone and opened it using her Face ID. That's how I was able to get on her phone. I should also mention that, based on my observations, it wasn't the person in the car that evening. Oh no. Other people existed. She had been deceiving me for several months, if not more. Screenshots of her texts, flirtatious direct messages to the other males, and even a few of lewd pictures she sent when she was allegedly working were shared to me. It seems that she had a cheating addiction, a persistent liar. Everything was in its place. The evidence I required to magnify her exquisite tiny image. After we had reconciled for about 3 months, I felt it was time. One evening, we were going to a classy restaurant downtown. It's one of those spots where she loves to snap photos of her meals and share them online, as if she were a famous person. Everything was prepared. I even gathered close friends and family and pretended that night that I was going to pop the question. I have also already leased out a table. The twist is that I didn't actually show up. I held off until I was positive that everyone would attend. And instead of turning there when I started receiving calls and texts asking what was going on, I sent a series of messages to everyone who had been invited, apologizing for making them travel so far for nothing, and providing all the evidence I could find of her cheating. Then, if you recall that day I made her black out, I uploaded the identical screenshots to many posts on her Instagram account. I changed her Instagram password, logged in on both her phone and mine. After that, I texted her to tell her that I was ending our relationship and that it had all been a game to me. The posts were harsh. Screenshots of her direct messages, the texts she wrote to her other friends, the obscene pictures she sent me while we were still together, everything. Although I made sure to include remarks and timestamps in everything I sent, it didn't end there. I enclosed a kind little note stating that she had been living a double life for months and had been cheating on me. It was exposure more than simply retaliation. I had wrecked her life, she screamed in a voice message that she sent me. I didn't respond. I wasn't required to. I'd accomplished what I had come for. A couple of the folks we invited called to express their ire at me. While others were merely taking in the drama, most were sympathetic. That night, she didn't return home until the next day. Even though she removed the postings, the harm must have already been done. When she did get home, she was a mess and had attempted every ruse in the book to get me to help her. She even attempted to woo me. Why do women believe that everything can be solved via sex? I informed her we were done, though. Before I returned, I instructed her to leave while I went to retrieve my vehicle keys. In case she had any ideas, I informed her that she would deeply regret it if anything were broken. Now, as for me, I'm doing fantastic. That was a few weeks ago. My next task is to sever ties with my worthless business associate. Maybe then I will truly feel free. Perhaps I ought to update that again. After I began collaborating with new investors, the company is at last beginning to grow. In addition, I'm getting over the havoc Jenny brought into my life. I'm feeling so free. Your meticulous documentation of everything in time to precisely target her social media obsession where it stung the most was very impressive. You made sure she couldn't escape unharmed by playing at her own game. It was about regaining your power more than it was about getting even. You took action when she deceived you, refusing to allow her write the story or pose as the broken-hearted ex. It's absurd that she attempted to portray everything as a simple misunderstanding. You weren't fooled by her flimsy justifications, and instead of falling for it, you gave her a taste of the mayhem she caused you. Yes, it seems weird, but sometimes it seems like the only way to get closure when you're hurting so badly. When it came to having the upper hand, Jenny didn't appear to have it because she was constantly messaging and contacting me after our big argument on the side of the road. I blocked her on everything, ignored all of her calls and messages, and let her stew in quiet for a week, which is why we didn't talk for that whole time. She also dispatched family members and friends who were acquainted to argue her point. In all my rage, I neglected to disclose that Jenny and I had been discussing marriage. Our engagement celebration was already being planned by our relatives. Although it was meant to be a surprise, I have a good feeling she knew. After I ghosted her, Our families messaged me, of course, telling me that Jenny had apologized and that everything had simply been a mistake. I had no hard evidence that she was having an affair. After all, we live in the Gen Z era, where people refer to one another as babes. So why was I breaking up with this person over such a little matter? Funny, too. Jenny even had the gall to send me an email apologizing and promising to clarify everything if I would just give her another opportunity. Though I wasn't prepared to hear it at the time. I did get in touch after approximately 2 weeks. I texted her a short message. Let's have a conversation. To add to the discussion, my strategy included reaching out to her in this way. I knew she would seize the chance. Indeed, she did. My phone inundated with messages in a matter of minutes, requesting a face-to-face meeting. I told her I wasn't ready to discard what we had just yet, but I wanted time to think things through. Shaggy, Mr. Lover, that's us. I was just thinking about what I wanted, and I couldn't care less about what we had. Thus, we got together. She apologized for the mistake with the man in the car, crying the entire time. She said that she didn't want to hurt me, and that he was only a friend. The classic deceitful tactic. She tried to minimize everything as though I was some kind of idiot, but she was unable to explain why she was in town without telling me or why she was wearing such lovely clothes when going out late with a friend. However, I kept my calm. I pretended to be willing to forgive her even though I was still sad. And after much back and forth, I gave her the impression that I was willing to give it another go. And she immediately gave everyone a call to update them on our situation. We gradually resumed our dates throughout the next weeks. She took it well when I pretended to be attempting to resolve my trust issues. She even dared to ask to remain with me for a little, and I granted her request. I took advantage of the chance to get revenge on her as well. Every time we got into it, I treated her like a dirty sex worker. Yes, I shielded myself because I had no idea where she'd been. I informed her that I was doing it to put an end to everything and that it would only last temporarily. It must have meant a lot to her to marry a tech businessman, to have fulfilled the promise of marriage, and to have invested so much energy into our 3 years together. Because taking all of it is preferable to leaving. Here's to the most delightful aspect of it all. Jenny, you see, is kind of obsessed with her social media presence. She constantly shares photos, tags locations, and arranges everything so that her fans think everything is flawless. She became dependent on the approval. She placed a great deal of importance on her reputation. Her universe was her fan base or following. Something else about Gen Z that baffles me. There was no 3,000 followers on her account, so what was all the commotion about? In any case, I desired to demolish her world just as she did mine. However, I required some kind of evidence for the impending separation that was about to happen. That way, no one would call and harass me. Jenny attempts to explain, I'm just frozen in place. However, nothing she says makes sense. Not that I can hear any of it. It's like I'm stuck in a terrible soap drama. All the cosmos is doing is kicking back and laughing at my suffering. Never before have I been so close to committing murder and suicide. I felt like my mental equilibrium was on the verge of breaking. But I managed to get back into my car, drive home, and switch off my phone. I experienced all of this hours ago. Now that I'm drinking and nearly finished my bottle of Captain Morgan, I'm reflecting on how I lost everything in the span of one gosh darn day. My company is failing. My partnership is ruined. And my thoughts? Most likely FD as well. Since I genuinely don't know what the heck to do, I'm writing this. How in the world does this even happen to one person in a day? I'm doomed. If you know of any advice, please let me know. I don't have anyone to talk to, but at least I've saved myself an hour of probably hurting myself by writing this entire freaking thing out. Whoa, it looks like your business partner doesn't get the idea of priority. Arresting someone just before an important investment meeting is beyond reckless. Regarding your girlfriend, that's quite the method to learn that she's visiting the area. You deserve a business partner that takes this as seriously as you do, and who also respects you enough to keep a low profile. Perhaps it's time to let go of both of those individuals. Update. Alright, this is amusing to read again. Not really. Humorous in the manner that Bill Burway or Dave Chappelle are. However, there is still some humor in it. That's okay for me to think. When I wrote the initial piece that night, I was completely insane, and maybe the alcohol helped too. I didn't feel well, and it seemed like everything was crumbling around me. Though I'm still in pain, I've improved and been calmer. Your remarks made me consider enrolling in a writing program and starting a business of some kind. Maybe I'll do it when I'm dangerously near to having a midlife crisis, but for now I'm too busy concentrating on my business. I received some very drastic ideas from all of you. Instead of focusing on Jenny's foolish boyfriend, everyone was talking about her. In any case, you folks give me a fresh view on things, and I'm appreciative of it. Now with this upgrade, where even do I start? knowing that Jenny was sneaking around with some random person who had the audacity to call her babe in front of me after everything that transpired with her 4 months prior was upsetting. I was a mess, as everyone is aware. Though in some respects it was, I felt like my life was coming apart, but after reading the comments, taking some time to reflect, and going over all that had happened, I came to one realization. Jenny was going to have to pay for her actions. This was not something she could get away with, not without a price. It's strange since I usually think of myself as a pedosal individual, but this has altered who I am. I wasn't in the mood to take the high road, even though some of you said that I should just dump her and go on. Not at this moment. As night I wanted her to experience the same intense anguish and betrayal as I did. It's not like she didn't wrong me, to be honest. Half of it was going to be transferred aggressiveness. The more I considered it, the more certain my strategy became. I had to wait for things to play out for a while if I wanted to truly get under her skin. I wasn't going to leave her hanging and give the impression that she was in control. Oh no, I was going to make her feel safe again, get back together, and then turn the tables. It pours when it rains. I experienced the worst day of my life because of my girlfriend's infidelity. I gave her the impression that I was taking her back before exposing her to my family and supporters. What the heck is going on in my life, I wonder? Either the cosmos or I are seriously flawed, or this is retribution for previous transgressions. Despite the horrible things I've done throughout my life, I don't deserve this. Not at all. All I do is come here and read and maybe comment and we all laugh together. This app is pure humor, and I promise that this is also how I am in real life. Therefore, no, I do not even slightly deserve this. All I have seen today is one gigantic FU from space. And I just have to get everything out of my system before I completely go crazy. To begin with, I drive 3 friggin' hours out of town to meet with an investor to start my day. Big time money is at stake here, money that might have changed my life forever. The time of the meeting was 12 p.m., precise. And since professionalism is something my so-called co-founder has no idea about, we'll get to that a whole later, I departed the home early to make sure I wasn't late. I arrive at the workplace well prepared to make the most compelling pitch of my career. To decompress, I'm practicing breathing techniques in the parking lot like a Zen monk. You know, everything is depending on this. Everything. Guess who's missing too? My foolish companion. The one individual who was meant to come through for me and get me this deal. He is the one who teaches technical jargon and is meant to be the CTO. I'm merely knowledgeable about the financial and economic aspects of things. I have no idea how things operate technically. However, the investors insisted that we both come. But why was I the only one, perspiring, sitting there like a moron, texting and phoning him? Not a reply. Nothing. I tried not to freak out even as I was freaking out because, maybe he's just running late. Things happen, don't they? False. Abruptly, it's 12:30, and I'm still by myself. And I swear I can see the receptionist getting ready to dial 911 because she knows I'm about to have a full-blown breakdown in a matter of minutes. At last, I received a call from this complete fool. The mofo. This guy tells me the most pitiful story about how he was detained last night. Captured? This moron was nabbed for driving under the influence after getting wasted celebrating a transaction that we hadn't even frickin' closed. How the F? For a deal that's still on hold, who starts celebrating early? Particularly when it's essential to have a steady mental state in order to seal the sale the next day. Who the devil does that? After being taken from the jail, his phone and other belongings were seized, making it impossible for him to make phone calls. Which is okay, I understand. Bad things happen. But everything was spoilt by this person, this careless prat. I was not even sure if to laugh or weep. We were on the verge of closing a huge transaction, and he was ruining it all by not being able to remain clean for even one goddamn night. I attempted to save the meeting on my own, but the investor determined I wasn't serious after glancing at me by myself. Meeting called off. Investment lost. Ultimately, if he couldn't even be certain that the CTO would be present when it counted, why invest money in our project? I picked up the phone and contacted Jenny, my girlfriend of more than 3 years. We are in a long-distance relationship, and Jenny made me fall in love, despite the fact that I detest long-distance relationships in general and have sworn never to enter one. Other corny tales and heart once it gets what it wants. Which is the dumbest thing I have written this evening so far. Rewind to Jenny. At that point, I assumed that she would pick up her phone normally, but she wasn't. She never fails to tell me how busy she is at work. When does a social media manager become so busy that she is unable to pick up her phone? She uses her phone for all of her job. I'm very mad right now. Because my girlfriend is abandoning me to cope with the BS and my partner can't handle himself, I missed out on a career-changing chance. Furthermore, it's not like this is the first instance. No, they've both made mistakes in the past. Perhaps I should introduce them to each other after this. However, I believe that I ranked my companion as the worst of the two, making poor choices, missing days at a time, and consistently missing deadlines. I've made many attempts to buy him out of the company, but he consistently declines. Anyhow, I'm so angry when I leave that I can hardly see straight. I act in a way that any sane person would. I went to the pub in the hopes that having a drink or two would help me relax. But it didn't. I make the decision to go home. I'm still really angry and it's becoming dark, but at least I'm sober enough to drive. Naturally, it's late, and while I'm driving back, the roads are essentially vacant, and I'm just piling on the rage. This a hole in a black Benz suddenly speeds by me as if he owns the damn road. Just driving like a crazy person, with no signal and no manners. I feel like something breaks inside of me and I'm like, no way, not today. Not after the shit show I experienced. Normally I would have ignored it. However, today was quite different. I begin accelerating in an attempt to catch up with this person. And before I know it, I'm going to be involved in some serious road rage as we're both speeding down this desolate, dark roadway. I have no idea what the heck has happened to me. Perhaps the booze was the cause. Perhaps it was the fact that I lost $1 million on a business with my partner. I was furious, but maybe it was simply the result of a months-long crap storm building. Furthermore, I wasn't going to stand by and watch this person drive like a butt. Please pardon me, I'm not proud of it. I finally succeeded in moving in front of him and obstructing his path. My heart is racing, my breath is laboring, and I can't wait to get outside and tell this guy what's up. Maybe I need to fight to get rid of all this rage I have inside of me. Perhaps I should also be arrested. Before I could get out of the car, though, I truly didn't care if that was how this night ended. The driver exits the car first, swearing at me, and a moment later the Benz's passenger door opens, letting this female out who yells at me, calls me derogatory things, and tells me to shut up. When this little harlot starts screaming, I immediately ask myself, who the hell is this? I realize then that it's Jenny. I promise I was taken aback by it. My girlfriend, with whom I've been in a long-distance relationship, kept her impending visit from me completely hidden. And now look at her, staggering out of some random guy's car and yelling at me as if I'm the one at fault. I swear to God, I thought I was going to lose my mind at that very moment. Is this like real life? Is this what I'm experiencing right now, really? Did I really just happen to get into a road rage fight with my own girlfriend out of all the cars in the world? Out of all the days in this year, and out of all the people? How ridiculous are the odds? But that was her, I promise. The bird that's been screeching becomes silent as soon as she recognizes me as I step out of the car. As I stand there in complete shock, the driver stops shouting and begins to observe us as though we're putting on a performance. It begins phoning my girlfriend, sweetheart. I was not sure if I or him had gone insane. I am at a loss for words. I stood there trying to wrap my brain around everything, my mouth hanging wide. How in the world did she not inform me that she was visiting the area? Why didn't she give me a call? And this man she was with, who the heck is he, sweetheart? I'm positive I've died and gone to hell at that moment. There's no other way to put it. My business partner is an effing catastrophe, and I've lost $1 million transaction, but for some reason I'm stuck with him. It has come to my attention that my girlfriend has been out and about in the town on motorcycles with a man who refers to her as babe, as though they are married. It's beyond my comprehension.